Hello, I'm Paul Callan and welcome to this week's MotorZen news. In this show, cartel and total loss write-offs, Maxus electric pickup, eBay parts, EV servicing prices, Toyota Go rallying on hydrogen, refueling in Ireland on hydrogen, rally team mistake, AC components and alliance, and London classic EVs. Very soon we're going to see amendments to the Road Traffic Act, and it's nothing to do with driving or driving infringements. It's to do with the recording of damaged vehicles, and the Department of Transport are going to have legislation put in place soon that is going to demand the insurance companies give them the information regarding damaged vehicles, category A, category B, category C, category D vehicles, total loss vehicles. Cartel and Audex have come up with a software to assist insurers because they're saying it's quite a complex job for the insurers to manage to do this. It's a point I've always made, was that the insurance companies always had this information about damaged vehicles and they never really bothered to compile it. So it looks like finally we're going to have this data compiled and recorded so that there's going to be no grey areas around damaged vehicles anymore going forward in Ireland. Maxus, we know from the Harris Group, they're the importers from Maxus, they're importers for UK and Ireland. Well, they're going to be the first to the market in the UK with a pickup truck, an electric pickup truck. A lot of the talk we've had on the show here has been about the F-150 pickup truck in America and how well that's going. Well, the first pickup truck to go on sale in the UK is going to come from the Irish importer from Maxus. Harris's are going to go to launch in the UK market on the first quarter of 23. The Maxus T90 EV pickup, it's going to come in at £49,950, 12 volt and a 220 outlet. So sounds like a little bit like what they're doing with the F-150 in America, where it becomes a kind of a on-site tool as well, so that you go to a site and you have your 240 supply off your pickup truck as well. That's a lot of the promotion around the F-150 in America. Still conventional leaf spring rear axle on it, so it doesn't seem too fancy in its chassis developments. 88.5 kilowatt hour battery, and they're saying that's going to do 220 miles. Now, there's no more information about it other than that. Obviously the big question here is, what's it going to be like when it starts to tow? Because we know the big reason for a pickup truck, a four-wheel drive pickup truck here in Ireland or in the UK is primarily for towing. So that information is going to be really interesting when you see there's 220 miles on it now on an 88.5 kilowatt motor. How much that's going to drop when you tow, because this thing could be towing every day. eBay is making a big push for used second-hand parts. They're trying to get into this sector, and the new name that we all need to get used to using for second-hand parts or breaker parts or scrapyard parts, no, we don't use those words anymore. We now call them green parts. So eBay is a massive push on to get anybody or who are breakers or people in that area to put their products onto eBay, and then eBay put them out to all the customers. So the platform makes it that everything's available and everything's there to be seen. Well, that's what they're certainly hoping. The statistics that they're coming out with is saying that they're saying to the consumer that these green parts, which we have to get used to using these words now, green parts are 70% cheaper. And what they're saying is that if the UK used 10% more green parts, that would mean that 390,000 less parts will go to landfill, and that 190,000 tons of carbon emissions would be reduced. So you can see the angle that they're taking now. So, you know, the old idea of it being used or scrap parts, it's much more consumer focused now that we're calling them green parts, and that by using these used parts, second-hand parts, you are contributing to improving the environment by using these green parts. So wording and terminology change there that you're going to see come into play more, but probably interesting to watch, because if this eBay platform works right, it could be an easy place to just quickly discover, is that part available used or as a green part. A conversation that's going on at the moment in the UK is about EV servicing. And some of the big fleet companies in the UK are putting out warning shots to franchise dealers not to put up the price of servicing of EVs. There's a lady there, Lorna McAteer, who is the fleet manager for National Grid, and they've got 3,000 vehicles. And she's saying that their analysis showing that instead of the traditional ICE vehicle going to the dealership every year over its 3 to 4 year lifespan in the company, they reckon that it's only going to go to the dealer 2 times in that 3 to 4 year lifespan. Lex Autolease have come out and said they reckon that the charges, the servicing charges, the cost of running charges on an electric vehicle should be 50% cheaper than an ICE vehicle. But on the other hand, you've got dealers who are not getting as much labour time on the vehicle and certainly not getting as much parts. But the big thing that they're not getting, and this applies to the independent workshop also, of course, is you have no oil sales. You're not selling lubricant. And this is always a big earner, or there's good margin in that for most workshops. Certainly massive margin in it for the dealer groups. And the least people are saying don't start jacking up the labour price to compensate for this. There is a survey done by another organisation in the UK on EVs that are already in the UK market. They're getting some data coming back off them now, and that data is showing that the overall bill is coming in at 22% less on average, and the parts bill is coming in at 28% less on average. So that's live data, that's real data that's coming back in off the UK market right now in terms of the costs of running EV vehicles. Okay, so you've made it to the middle again. Thanks. And if you could like, comment and subscribe. And like I said, if you can hit the like button, Mr. YouTube likes that and that helps us. Please, thanks. Toyota are going rallying this weekend with a hydrogen powered rally car. Okay, this weekend is a Belgian round of the World Rally Championship. Yeah, you're going to have the normal hybrid Yaris is out there in front, but Juha Kankinen, who was 4-time World Rally Champion, 86 with Peugeot, 87, 91 with Lancia, and in 1993 with Toyota, the 63-year-old Finn is going to take out the hydrogen powered Yaris. Engine is based on the same road car engine running on hydrogen effectively. So Toyota have been playing around with this in motorsport now for over a year. In June, the Corolla did a 24-hour race in Japan, Fuji 24-hour. The suggestion or the chat around this is that hydrogen could be the fuel that's going to be used into the future in rallying. So this weekend we're going to see that Yaris. It's not competing in the actual rally. He'll be road opening, so he'll be out before the first rally cars through the stages. But I can assure you that Juha Kankinen probably won't be hanging around, so it's going to be interesting to see how that car performs. Normal internal combustion engine, normal Yaris GR engine running on hydrogen. Staying with the hydrogen thing, there was a government white paper, which I don't really know exactly what that is, but it was released in the last week or two here in Ireland. And in reading up on this, it was interesting because it seems to be that there is actually actually a solid factual place for hydrogen in Europe. And the idea behind this is that this white paper was to explore how we deploy hydrogen across the transport network. And in reading up on this, I discovered that France and Portugal have set aside 7 billion to develop an infrastructure, Germany 8 billion, and Ireland is legally mandated under European law to roll out a network of hydrogen refueling stations along major motorways. So all along with this, I kept thinking nothing's really clear or nothing's really permanent. But according to this, it is. According to this, it looks like that on that European network of motorways, hydrogen is going to need to be available on the service stations along those motorways, and that includes Ireland. So it looks like that over the next couple of years we have to roll out actual infrastructure to have hydrogen refueling at these service stations under European law. That's the interesting thing that came out of that document. And in the general conversation about hydrogen, as to where hydrogen fits or where does hydrogen fit with electric, the way I seen things going to a certain extent was that we would have possibly hydrogen powered cars because we'll have hydrogen powered trucks, so that when we roll out the infrastructure for the trucks, we'll then find that maybe the customer might go from an EV to a hydrogen powered vehicle because the hydrogen is then available. That's kind of was my thought process with this, which is kind of backed up with this concept, because this concept says we're going to have the infrastructure. We have to have the infrastructure. Europe has said we are mandated to implement the infrastructure. So that's going to be interesting to watch. Quick shoot back to rallying. 2 weeks ago was the Rally Finland, and Hyundai won the #1 rally, the World Rally Championship rally. But Rally 2 is another sector. It's like the lower grade, or for the younger drivers coming up, do Rally 2. And Hyundai had won that as well. But interesting story coming back out of, they were disqualified for being underweight, and it goes to show you how so many details come together to make a rally car win or in motorsport. Timo Sunonen was disqualified from the rally because his front bumper was underweight. His front bumper weighed in at 3.931 kilos, should have been 4.510 kilos. And then you're thinking, right, was it some kind of an attempt to break the rules? No, they've got a cheaper bumper that they use for testing, and that's the bumper they had on the car. They had the bumper they used for testing, not the normal bumper that should have been used in the car. Mistake within the team, but instead of winning the rally, they're completely disqualified. So small details mean a lot when it comes to motorsport. AC Components in Craigavon, a motor factor in Craigavon, been bought out, and again a name that keeps cropping up here in Ireland, Alliance Automotive Group. They're the people that bought out J&S, the importer distributor in Dublin. They also bought out Mack Auto Parts in Antrim, 3 branches in Antrim, and now they've bought out AC Components in Craigavon. So these guys seem to be growing and taking a bigger hold in Ireland, certainly buying out private factor businesses in Northern Ireland, and probably going to see them come down south soon. Another story to do with London and to do with ICE vehicles in London. You must pay a charge every day if you go into London with an internal combustion engine. And this is driving a new interest in electric vehicles and a new interest in classic electric vehicles. And a little story that I followed during the week was Late Break Show. We'll put a link to this. This video is interesting. And it's just a guy living in London, driving into the centre of London, had a Leaf, didn't want to use a Leaf, wanted something a little bit more interesting. Bought a BMW 1602, dressed it up to make it look like a 20002. It will do 150 miles now on a charge. It's got 120 brake horsepower. It's going through its own 4-speed standard gearbox. It'll do a 0 to 60 in 7.5 seconds. He can drive around London all day long in it and doesn't incur any fines or charges for using the car in London. And this is something that I think we need to keep an eye on, because most cities around Britain and Ireland now are somewhere down the line are going to implement these rules that you're going to get penalised if you go into the centre of this place with an internal combustion engine. And I think that's going to produce business for workshops converting some nicer older cars to electric vehicles. But the Late Break Show featured that car, and it's an interesting story to watch, so have a look down below. So thanks for watching. Please, if you could, like, comment and subscribe. It's a big help to us. And hit the like button. Mr. YouTube likes when you hit the like button, and we need to keep Mr. YouTube happy. Thanks for that. See you next week.